Last September, my front lawn held its deep green color a full 6 weeks longer than every other yard on my block, and I spent less than $18 doing it. No synthetic fertilizer, no weed and feed, no 4-step program from the big box store. Just a simple biological feeding system I pieced together after digging through old golf course research that almost nobody talks about. Here's the thing. While homeowners are being sold 40-pound bags of blue pellets that promise a green lawn in 2 weeks, the best golf course superintendents in the country quietly switched over to something completely different almost 30 years ago. They figured out that if you feed the soil instead of the grass takes care of itself. And the kicker is, the ingredients cost a fraction of what you're paying now. I stumbled onto this when I was reading through some old United States Golf Association green section reports from the 1990s. Superintendents at some of the top courses in the country had started running biological programs on their fairways and greens, and the results were beating synthetic programs across the board. Deeper roots, fewer fungal diseases, less water, less chemical spraying. And the research was sitting there in plain sight. Today I'm going to walk you through exactly how to build this biological feeding system in your own yard using 3 ingredients you can buy at any feed store or garden center. And stay with me to the end, because I'll share the $1 kitchen trick that superintendents use right before a tournament to get that deep, almost unnatural shade of green that makes every fairway pop on television. Now, before we get into it, I want to be straight with you. I did this the wrong way for almost 20 years. I was a blue pellet guy. Every April, every June, every September, I'd throw down another bag of synthetic fertilizer, because that's what the label told me to do. And every July, my lawn would turn crispy and brown, and I'd blame the heat. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. I was right there with you. Most of the advice online is still stuck in the 1970s, telling you that a green lawn means more nitrogen, more potassium, more phosphorus, more of everything, sprayed on top of dead dirt. Then I uncovered this body of research that completely reset my thinking. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Here's the short version. Back in the 1930s, a soil scientist named Dr. William Albrecht at the University of Missouri spent decades studying what actually makes soil productive. What he found, and what got quietly buried after World War II when the synthetic fertilizer industry exploded, was that healthy soil is alive. A single teaspoon of healthy soil contains more microorganisms than there are people on Earth. Those microbes are what unlock nutrients for your grass roots. They break down thatch. They fight off fungal diseases. They hold water during dry spells. And when you dump synthetic salt-based fertilizer on top of them, you kill them off, which means the grass becomes dependent on the next application, and the next, and the next. This wasn't mystical folk wisdom. This was survival-driven science. Populations in India, China, and parts of pre-industrial Europe had to feed entire villages off small plots, and they couldn't afford to burn out their soil. They kept it alive on purpose. The golf course superintendents who read Albrecht's work figured out the same thing applied to turf. And it's simpler than you think. So let's walk through it together. The first thing you need to understand before we start feeding anything is what your soil actually has and what it's missing. Grab a basic soil test from your county extension office. It'll run you about $15 to $20, and it tells you your pH, your cation exchange capacity, and your organic matter percentage. Here's what you're looking for. If your organic matter is below 3%, your soil is microbially starved. That's the real problem. Most suburban lawns I test come back at 1 to 2% because the topsoil was scraped off when the house was built. You're not growing grass in soil. You're growing it in subsoil dust. If your pH is below 6 or above 7.5, your grass can't absorb nutrients no matter how much you throw down. Lime brings it up. Elemental sulfur brings it down. Follow the extension office recommendation to the pound. Now, once you know where you stand, here's where the real feeding begins. The first ingredient, and the backbone of this whole system, is alfalfa meal. You can buy a 50-pound bag at a feed store for around $20 to $25. It's sold for rabbits and horses, nothing fancy. Alfalfa meal contains a natural plant growth hormone called triacontanol, which research out of Michigan State confirmed stimulates both root growth and microbial activity in the soil. It also feeds soil bacteria a slow release of nitrogen, potassium, and trace minerals over about 6 to 8 weeks. The application rate is 20 pounds per 1,000 square feet. Do this in early spring, right after your first mow, and again in early fall around Labor Day. Water it in lightly. That's it. The conventional approach is to throw down a bag of 20-10-10 synthetic. You get a 2-week flash of green, followed by a slow decline. The suppressed approach feeds the soil for 2 full months, and the green color comes on slower but lasts 4 times as long. Trust me on this one. Before I show you the liquid half of the program, I want to pause for just a second. And if you're someone who's been battling clover, crabgrass, dandelions, or those stubborn broadleaf weeds that come back every single year, I put together something that solves that exact problem. It's called Larry's 30-Day Weed Kill Protocol. It lays out the day-by-day system I follow, including the exact pre-emergent timing, how to identify the 7 most common lawn weeds, the spot treatment method that actually works, and a full seasonal maintenance calendar. Normally $47, but it's $17 right now. Scan the QR code on your screen or click the link down in the description. All right, let's keep going. The second ingredient is liquid fish hydrolysate, not fish emulsion. There's a difference, and it matters. Fish emulsion is cooked and stripped. Hydrolysate is cold processed, which preserves the enzymes, amino acids, and oils that feed soil fungi. A gallon jug runs about $30, and it'll treat an average quarter-acre lawn 4 or 5 times. You mix 3 ounces of hydrolysate per gallon of water, and you can spray it with a simple hose-end sprayer set to the right dilution. And yes, it smells like fish for about 24 hours. That goes away, and this is the one that ties it all together, is blackstrap molasses. Same stuff you bake with. A gallon from a feed store or online costs about $15 and lasts a whole season. Here's why it works. Molasses is pure carbon. It's food for soil bacteria. When you spray it on your lawn, the microbe population can double within 48 hours, and those microbes start breaking down thatch, cycling nutrients, and building soil structure. Mix 3 ounces of molasses per gallon of water, along with your fish hydrolysate. They go down together in the same sprayer. Apply at a rate of 1 gallon of mix per 1,000 square feet. You'll notice the grass blades feel slightly stickier for about a day. Now here's where the yield really shows up. After your 3rd month on this program, you can start backing off on watering. Microbial soil holds moisture like a sponge. I went from watering 3 times a week to once every 10 days, and my lawn looked better than it ever had on the old synthetic schedule. One more thing before we hit the common mistakes. If you're in zones 3 through 5 with a cool season lawn like Kentucky bluegrass or fescue, your feeding window is April through June, then September through October. Skip the hot summer months. If you're in zones 7 through 10 with warm season grass like Bermuda or zoysia, you feed from May straight through September. Let the grass tell you when it's hungry. Yellowing tips and slow recovery after mowing are your cues. Now let me walk you through the patterns I see homeowners fall into, because these are the habits that keep a lawn dependent on constant intervention. The first pattern is the 4-step program. You buy a season's worth of synthetic fertilizer in one box, and you apply it on the calendar whether your lawn needs it or not. I did this myself for years. The problem is, those salt-based fertilizers kill off the microbes you're trying to build, and the calendar has nothing to do with your actual soil condition. Feed the soil based on the soil test, not the bag. The second pattern is bagging your clippings. Every time you bag, you're hauling off about 1 pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per season. That's free fertilizer you're throwing in the trash. Mulch your clippings back onto the lawn. The microbes you're now feeding will break them down in about a week. The third pattern is shallow, daily watering. 10 minutes every morning feels like you're doing something, but it trains the roots to stay in the top 2 inches of soil, which is where they burn up first in July. Water deeply once or twice a week. Aim for 1 inch per watering and let the surface dry between soakings. The fourth pattern is weed and feed products. You're applying a broadcast herbicide to your entire lawn to kill maybe 3% of the surface. The other 97% of your soil takes the chemical hit. Spot treat weeds individually and let the biological program crowd them out over time. All right, here's the payoff I promised you at the start. That deep, almost unnatural green color you see on televised tournaments. It's not genetics. It's not synthetic fertilizer. It's liquid iron, and it costs about $1 per application on an average lawn. I found this in an old superintendent's handbook from a course in North Carolina. The trick is chelated iron sulfate. You buy a 1 pound bottle for around $12, and it lasts 2 full seasons. Mix 2 ounces per gallon of water and spray at a rate of 1 gallon per 1,000 square feet. Iron doesn't make the grass grow. It just greens up the chlorophyll in the blades you already have. The effect shows up in about 12 to 24 hours and lasts 3 to 4 weeks. Don't overdo it, because too much iron will stain concrete a rusty color that doesn't come off easily. Keep it off your driveway and walkways, and you'll get that tournament green every single time you want it. Now, before you go, I want to circle back one more time. What I showed you today is the feeding side of the system. But if weeds are still your biggest frustration, the 30-day weed kill protocol is going to save you an entire season of guesswork. Inside, I walk you through the exact products I use, the pre-emergent and post-emergent timing window that makes or breaks your results, how to identify the 7 weeds that account for most homeowner headaches, the spot treatment method that won't damage your turf, and the full seasonal calendar from March through November. It's $17 right now, down from $47. Scan the QR code on your screen, or click the link in the description. It's the exact playbook I wish someone had handed me 20 years ago. So here we are, a lawn that holds its green 6 weeks longer than the neighbors, for less than the price of a pizza. That's what happens when you stop feeding the grass and start feeding the soil underneath it. If this video helped you see your lawn a little differently, drop a comment and tell me what zone you're in and what you're growing. I read every one. Take care of that lawn, and I'll see you in the next one.